Hello, boxing fans. Welcome to another episode of World Championship Boxing. And today we're going to talk about the 2019 year-end awards for World Championship Boxing. And the categories are going to be Fight of the Year, Round of the Year, Knockout of the Year, Comeback Fighter of the Year, Upset of the Year, Event of the Year, and then we have the Network of the Year, and then we also have the Pussy of the Year. Or the politically correct would be the Wimp of the Year. And I think everybody can guess who that one is, and I think if you listen to our last show, you'll know that one. But the rest, I'm going to hold you in suspense until we get Juan Silva on the line. Stand by, please. Okay, I have Juan Silva on the line. Are you there, sir?
Hey, good afternoon, Logan. Good afternoon, fight fans.
Yes, I just ran down the categories. So why don't you just go ahead and we can start.
Julio Cesar Chavez is the Pussy of the Year. If you want to go more into detail, listen to our last week's show. That's all we'll say about that fucking bum. All right, that's done. Now we go to the Event of the Year. The Event of the Year, we'll be talking more about this event later, but the Event of the Year, November 7th, 2019, Saitama, Japan, the finals of the World Boxing Super Series Bantamweight Championships. Nonito Donaire, legendary fighter from Philippines. He's anywhere from the second to the fourth greatest Filipino fighter of all time. Number one being Manny, and no one will ever surpass Manny as far as Philippine fighters go. In a last-ditch effort to add to an already incredible legacy against the greatest Japanese fighter of all time, NAOYA Monster Inoue, and we'll go more into this. But this was a great spectacle, a great event. That was the Event of the Year. We'll talk more about this fight as we go on into the broadcast, but that is the Event of the Year. Then we go on to the Upset of the Year. June 1st, 2019, Madison Square Garden. This was supposed to be, Logan, Anthony Joshua's triumphant debut in the United States, in New York City, and boy, did he shit the bed. He got his ass handed to him. And this is a great segue because we'll combine these two awards. First two rounds, Joshua's fight like you saw later in the year. He's controlling the distance and the jab because he's 10 feet taller than that fat fuck Anthony Ruiz. He's using his jab. He's keeping him at bay. Then in the third round, he lands a beautiful left hook that drops Ruiz. And this would be the biggest blessing for Ruiz because the only chance Ruiz had to win this fight was to get into a slugfest with Joshua. Joshua knocks him out, and Joshua goes for the kill. Joshua in the past, when he's hurt you, Logan, like he did against Klitschko, like he did against Povetkin, like he did against all the other guys he knocked out, he would go to the body. He didn't go to the body against this fat fuck Ruiz. He went headhunting, and while headhunting, he walked into a right hand on top of his head that dropped him and concussed him, and he fought the rest of the fight with a concussion. He got back up dazed, and he was dropped again before the bell saves him because he was definitely had been 20 more seconds left in the third round. He'd have been knocked out. Upset of the year, round 3, round of the year, one of the greatest rounds in the history of boxing. And now I'm going to let you talk about what you thought about the upset of the year and that round, that incredible third round, which not only changed the momentum of the fight, but changed the course of boxing history.
It did, and it was a shock to all, and it was a great kind of, I guess, capper to Andrew Ruiz's career because I don't think it's going to get any better than that. He definitely inspired a lot of fat people with that move, like just being out of shape, going in there and killing the Adonis. I thought it was a great story, and I thought the champion was magnanimous in defeat as well.
Well, you know what? Anthony Joshua comes from the Lennox Lewis school of not only boxing, he's very similar in style to Lennox Lewis, but very classy, very humble. You never heard Lennox Lewis brag. Lennox Lewis was always very complimentary of his opponents, except for Riddick Bowe. There was hatred between him and Bowe because they could never get it because of what happened after the Olympics in 1988 and when he was supposed to fight Bowe in early 1993, and Bowe instead took the WBC belt, threw it in the garbage. Other than that, he was very complimentary of Vander Holyfield. He was very complimentary of Mike Tyson, even though Mike Tyson tried to bite him in the leg and threatened to eat his children that Lennox Lewis hadn't had yet. Lennox Lewis didn't have children for about 8 to 10 years before this guy threatened to eat his family. But so Lennox Lewis always classy. Anthony Joshua, and you can tell by the way Joshua fights and the way he carries himself that he idolized Lennox Lewis. I see a lot of Lennox Lewis in Anthony Joshua. He's very humble. He didn't blame. He had a million excuses. He had it. You know, he took this guy lightly. Ruiz was a last minute replacement for another fat fucking Jarrell Miller. I don't know how Jarrell Miller failed a PED steroid drug test, but he did. I guess he was eating the steroids instead of putting them putting the needle in him. He probably just drinking the shit. I don't know, but anyway.
I mean, in pro wrestling terms, this was like if Steve Lombardi beat Hulk Hogan. You know, it was like.
Hey, there you go. If Steve Lombardi beat Hulk, Ruiz is more talented than Steve Lombardi. You know, I would say if the genius Lanny Poffo beat Hulk Hogan, which he actually did on an episode of Sunday Night Main Event, it was by countout. So there goes your there goes your analogy. But unreal, unbelievable win, and will be forever the highlight of Andy Ruiz's career because he'll never get to that level again. He had his Leon Spinks / Buster Douglas moment June 1st, 2019, that night in Madison Square Garden. One of the 5 greatest upsets in heavyweight history. I would rank it number 2 behind Mike Tyson's loss to Buster Douglas. I would put it number 2. Just how shocking it was. And we'll be talking more about both Joshua and Ruiz. There are 4 guys that dominate the landscape of this episode, the awards of this year, and that's Andy Ruiz, Anthony Joshua, NAOYA Inoue, and Nonito Donaire. And
related.
Which is tremendous, which is great because this has been a spectacular year in boxing. Because we continue with Anthony Joshua, as we continue with Ruiz and Joshua, as Anthony Joshua is our 2019 Comeback Fighter of the Year. And I have to give Joshua this award because my broadcast partner here, my podcast partner, Logan, thought that Joshua was done, and I didn't argue with Logan because he had a valid point. How many times over the almost 10 years of this program have we seen fighters both today and yesterday, suffer a beating like Joshua took and were never the same? We've seen it over. You can make a valid point that Mike Tyson was never the same after that beating he suffered at the hands of Buster Douglas. Jeff Lacey was never the same after the beating he suffered by Joe Calzaghe. There have been so many great fighters. Felix Trinidad was never the same after the beating he suffered at the hands of Bernard Hopkins. We've seen similar beatings where the fighter was never the same, and Logan thought this of Joshua, and he thought Joshua was going to get knocked out in the second round. I didn't argue with Logan because Logan, I predicted what happened. I thought it was a fluke, and I thought Joshua was going to stay outside, use the jab, and that's what he did. But I understand where Logan was coming from. I understand where Logan was coming from because we've seen this over and over and over again. Joshua, I mean, this was only 6 months later. He turned the tables, and in the rematch, a one-sided boxing masterclass that Joshua put on, I predicted it would be like Lennox Lewis versus David Tua. It was exactly that. he kept that fat fuck Andy Ruiz outside. Ruiz, who didn't train, came in 15 pounds heavier than the first time. I mean, he was 268 the first time, came in at 283 in the rematch. He wasn't training. He was eating donuts and Snicker bars, all right? That was his training regimen. It was used as a disgrace, which is the same thing that Buster Douglas did after he beat Mike Tyson. He gained 15 pounds, went in like a blimp against Evander Holyfield, and was put to sleep. You can never fight Evander Holyfield. Holyfield was sculptured like a Greek goddess, like Anthony Joshua used to. And Joshua, a reason why I thought Joshua was going to do what he did, besides the fact that he needed this win. Anthony Joshua's career was on the line. He loses, his career is over. Now, if he loses, he really doesn't lose because he goes out into the sunset with $60 million in his pocket. But no, his legacy, his career was on the line. He could not afford to lose to Ruiz. He loses to Ruiz. Bye-bye Anthony Joshua's career. Bye-bye Eddie Hearn's deal with DAZN. And probably bye-bye DAZN, even though DAZN is bleeding money left and right, and they're barely hanging on. Oh, by the way, we failed to mention this. Did I write this? Did I write this in the thing? The Network of the Year? Did I write this in the email? Yes, I did.
Yeah,
and I
did.
skipped that category. So we segue into it. DAZN is the network of the boxing network of the year. And,
Absolutely.
I mean, practically every week from September 1st to last week, one great matchup after another. You had this year alone, you had the two Joshua Ruiz fights, which you had the round of the year, the upset of the year. You had the World Boxing Super Series tournament finals. We'll get into those fights later. But, I mean, those were great fights, and they're two candidates for Fight of the Year. You had so many great fights. You had Canelo Alvarez's great victories over Sergey Kovalev and Danny Jacobs. DAZN, head and shoulders, were putting their best fighters, Logan, together, while ESPN were putting their best fighters in with tomato cans, with fucking garbage men, right? Not DAZN. DAZN was putting their best fighters in the ring with top-notch competition, and at the end of the year, DAZN had one of the great years, not only this year with the Network of the Year, they are going to you can make a claim that it was the greatest year for any network in the history of boxing, and that's saying a lot considering the amount of television and content that's been aired over NBC, ABC, CBS, HBO, Showtime throughout the history of boxing. So DAZN is the network of the year. Joshua, comeback fight of the year for the brilliant fight. And Andy Ruiz didn't go to the body, like Logan mentioned, didn't go behind his jab. He's thinking, all I got to do is get into one exchange, and I can knock Joshua out with one shot.
Well, you know what?
Didn't train. It was ridiculous. Go ahead.
In that fight, though, the second fight, they did get into a couple exchanges and brawls where Joshua got caught. So that showed Joshua was ready to take a punch, too. I mean, he stayed outside most of the time, but he got caught a couple times.
Look,
yeah.
You could tell when a fighter is focused. In the first fight, he didn't keep his eyes on Ruiz the whole time. He would wonder.
Right.
His eyes would wander. Not in this fight. This fight, he stared into Ruiz's eyes the entire fight. He was completely focused. But he
took him seriously.
One flaw. He still shows this one flaw that's going to hurt him if he doesn't correct it. When he tries to clinch, he tries to grab you. And when he does that, his face is wide open for an uppercut. He's got to stop that shit.
Yep. And he did also go to the body more in this fight, the second fight.
Joshua is a tremendous body puncher, and which he did not do at all in the first fight. He did in the second fight. Totally dominated this fight. I gave Ruiz one round. Joshua wins it easily. He regains the title, back on top of the heavyweight division, and hopefully in 2020 we get a Final Four tournament. We already got two fighters set. in one of the fights I want to see. You got Wilder and Fury fighting February 22nd. What I want to see, to piggyback that, is Joshua fight Alexander Usyk, and then that winner fight the winner of Wilder Fury. But that's the discussion for another day.
Yeah,
so we
that's
have,
a good one.
That would be, and that there, right there, you will see who the greatest heavyweight of this era is from that tournament. Well, that unofficial tournament, so to be. So that's your round of the year, your comeback fighter of the year.
Before you go on,
not finished yet. Go ahead.
I know. Before you go on, I want to get some of the runners-ups of some of these.
Oh yeah. So go ahead.
I mean, I think INOUE Donaire round 9, maybe, as a round of the year.
Oh yes, without a doubt. But let's save that for when we talk about that fight. So you're right. You're right about that. That's definitely in the conversation, and we'll talk about that later on. Round 12, Triple G Derevyanchenko was a tremendous round, and could have won round of the year anytime throughout boxing recently. And this fight's unavailable on YouTube except for the 9th round. Jeff Horn lost to a journeyman named Michael Sarafa earlier this year. Got his ass beat, and in the rematch, he was getting his ass beat until an epic 9th round where he was all but ready to go, and then with a dramatic victory in one of the great rounds of this year. But I didn't put this up. This happened a few weeks ago. I didn't put this up because the entire fight is not available. They showed the 9th round on YouTube, and if you guys want to check that out, that's Jeff Horn versus Michael Sarafa 2. The first fight, the entire fight's on YouTube. The second fight, they're just showing the 9th round, and what a spectacular round. And that is could have definitely been a winner in any other year. And
okay,
this is a great segue to our fight of the year. And what a fucking fight!
Oh my God!
Fight.
Yeah.
We go back to what the event of the year was. That day, November 7th, 2019. Nonito Donaire, one of the 4 greatest Filipino fighters of all time, against, in my opinion, and I don't think anybody will argue this, the greatest Japanese fighter of all time, and only his 19th professional fight, NAOYA Monster Inoue.
Wow, yeah.
I thought Inoue was going to walk through Donaire. I was wrong. Donaire put on. You can make a valid point that we've done his greatest performances. That this was his greatest performance because at the age of 37, he fought as valiant, as courageous, as skillful as he ever did against a monster in NAOYA Monster Inoue. NAOYA Monster Inoue. What a fight. He opened up a vicious cut above Inoue's right eye. He broke Inoue's nose. Inoue was bleeding from both the nose and the eye. Inoue had to step down, sit down, and he had to show intestinal fortitude for the first time in his career. Inoue was killing everybody. Inoue totally dominated boxing up until his fight with Donaire. Donaire showed Inoue, for you to be great, you're going to have to beat me because I'm great. And
yeah, he showed him.
Donaire had never lost at bantamweight. So this
right.
was another thing. And you had made that point before the fight. You was like, remember, Silva. Donaire's never lost at bantamweight, and he's got that power at bantamweight. And that fucking 9th round was one of the greatest rounds in bantamweight history and could have easily been round of the year. And Inoue, after the first 5 rounds, in which Inoue was rocked a few times, he began to control the fight with his jab. NAOYA Inoue is the closest thing I've ever seen to Thomas Hitman Hearns since Thomas Hearns' prime. A great offensive fighter, all the tools, a great left jab, a right cross from hell, a great left hook to the body, which we'll go into later on talking about this fight. Just a complete offensive package. Fights tall, no unnecessary movement. One thing Inoue has over Hearns that this fight proved out that Hearns never had. Hearns never had the stamina that Inoue had. And that's why Hearns got knocked out by Marvin Hagler. and why Hearns was knocked out by Sugar Ray Leonard in their first fight and by Ryan Barkley. Because when he gassed out, he was done.
He got tired throwing that jab all the time.
Yeah. In the 9th round, after getting rocked by that right hand, he was ready to go. And I was like, oh, shit. No, not you, monster. Not you. He recovered.
Totally.
Was able to land a right hand of his own late in the 9th round, held on, went back to boxing in the 10th round, and in the 11th round, landed one of the great left hooks to the body that I've ever seen. Left hook to the rib cage that was so devastating, it had Donaire running across the ring in pain. What a black fucking hook to the body. And Donaire went down, and the referee gave him an extra second. He was knocked out. He got up at 10.5. But the referee gave the great legend one last opportunity, and Donaire landed one of his own left hooks late in the 11th round to stave off, to hold off from getting knocked out. A left hook that any other fighter would have been scraped off the canvas. But Donaire proved that he had a chin. Donaire proves that he is one of the 4 to 5 greatest fighters in the world. And he proved what I've been saying since we started this program. I was telling everybody since we started this program that this guy was going to be the greatest Japanese fighter of all time. By the way, shout out to the website Asian Boxing. And I follow them on Twitter. Anybody that wants to see NAOYA Inoue's entire career, go to AsianBoxing.com. You got everything there, his entire career, and they have so many fights on that website of great Asian fighters. Manny Pacquiao's entire career, Nonito Donaire's entire career, NAOYA Inoue's entire career, and all the other fighters that we've talked about, Asian fighters that we've talked about on this program, and we've done about 10 of them. All of those guys' career is available on Asian Boxing. Love those guys. Love that website. So shout out to them. And they agree with me, and them guys know their boxing, that NAOYA Inoue is the greatest Japanese fighter of all time. And what makes this the event of the year and the fight of the year? The 12th round, Donaire was desperate, couldn't get that last knockout blow. Inoue was smart. He boxed, held on, didn't take any crazy chances, dominated the 12th round, won the decision, and he was presented with the championship trophy and all the belts by the guy he supplanted as the greatest Japanese fighter of all time, fighting Harada. You can check out our greatest performances on his career, and there's several of his fights on that website as well. So all in all, a great fight. What made this fight so great besides the action was the skill level that these two fighters were fighting at. Nonito Donaire in his prime, I always said he reminded me of Roy Jones Jr., the closest thing I ever saw to Roy Jones Jr. in speed and power and reflexes. While the reflexes and the speed are all but gone, the power and the skill is still there. And this was not a brawl. It was a skillful fight with a lot of power between two fighters that are not sluggers, that are boxers who can punch. Tremendous fight. And I'm going to I'm going to let you talk about this fight and your impression, because when the fight happened and we were texting each other back and forth, you could not fucking believe what you were seeing.
Yeah. I mean, I was going by what you said, because, I mean, I just was like, Inoue has been so dominant. And then I saw I saw him getting hit, and I was like, man, this guy has a chance. And he really kept hope alive up through until the 10th round. Basically, it was an even fight. So you were sitting there at the edge of your seat watching this really scientific battle, and they were both so highly skilled and yet hitting each other. I mean, not missing. And it's not one of those fights where you see two guys playing and they don't even hit each other and they're both really good. That's a boring fight. This was a fight where these motherfuckers caught each other now and then, and you tested each other's chins. And it wasn't even until Donaire got hit in the body that he really showed that he even got hurt. He was
You're
like...
right. Donaire was not hurt up until that point. You're right.
Right. So that's another thing is you always thought he has a puncher's chance at this point now. If he could swarm him after catching him with, one like he did in the ninth round, if he had laid off of him, he might have got the knockout. So
I think the reason why he didn't go all out was because he knew about Inoue's power, and I think at this
and counterpunching,
time, I think at that point in time he was probably, I hurt this guy, maybe I can carry the next 3 rounds and win a decision, which you shouldn't have that mindset. You're fighting in your opponent's backyard right outside Tokyo, Japan. He's not winning a decision. Matter of fact, one of the judges gave Inoue 9 rounds. How the fuck you see 9 rounds? I said I don't understand that. I gave Inoue 7 rounds, and there were 2 or 3 rounds that it could have gone either way. So he couldn't have won a decision. He wasn't going to win a decision in Japan. He and Donaire neglected to go to the body after he hurt Inoue in the 9th round. And that was the difference, Logan. The difference was, and there's a difference in a lot of fights between great fighters, the body punching of Inoue and that left jab that even when he was in trouble, even when he was bleeding, viciously bleeding from both eyes and nose, that jab kept Donaire from landing that next punch. It's very similar to Thomas Hearns. Very little wasted movement. He's in the pocket, and he's fighting tall, and he's batting you with that jab to blind you so he can hit you with that right cross.
Yeah, and he was using his footwork, too, to kind of tire out Donaire, I noticed.
It was not unnecessary movement. It was necessary because it was part of strategy, and it wasn't. Right. As you can see, in the 12th round, even though he'd been through a war, he was as fresh as he was in the 12th round as he was in the first round.
All right, so let's talk about some runner-ups of the fight of the year.
And we've got a ton of them. We've got Triple G versus Derevinchenko. Great fight, a fight that I thought Derevinchenko won. Triple G gets a gift decision, probably because he's the name. And what pisses me off, Logan, is Triple G's not giving this guy a rematch, even though this guy gave Triple G hell. He's hoping to fight Canelo again, and to me, that shit is done past his due date. Forget that. That was a great fight. J-Rock Williams versus Jarrett Hurd from May 11th, 2019 in a tremendous war. One of the great junior middleweight fights of all time. Just a great fight. I'm thinking of there's been so many great ones. Josh Taylor in the World Boxing Super Series Junior Welterweight Championship fight tournament final against Regis Prograis, in which Josh Taylor, coming into this fight, Logan, was always a cute style fighter, took the fight to Regis and outgutted and outslugged Regis to win a well-deserved decision, and he is a candidate for Fighter of the Year. We'll talk about that award later. The first Ruiz Joshua fight, great fight. After the 3rd round, it became one-sided, but that 3rd round alone and the finish made it a contender for Fight of the Year. Errol Spence versus Sean Porter. What a fucking war. What a war. Any other year, that fight would have been Fight of the Year. A great 12-round war in which Sean Porter showed all the guts and determination of a guy who's not as talented as the guy he's fighting, and was in the fight until the 11th round where he got caught with a left hook that almost knocked him out, similar to Inoue versus Donaire. There's so many great fights this year. 2019 was an epic year in boxing. You could make an argument that there were 10 to 15 fights that could have been Fight of the Year. What a great year in boxing, and it's just unbelievable the amount of great fights that have occurred. And those are, I mentioned those, and I'm sure there's a bunch that I forgot about. There's so many great fights.
Well, we'll talk about it. Let's get into the Fighter of the Year. I think this is our final category here.
Our final category, and it's first. Let's some runner-ups. A lot of people are picking Canelo Alvarez. I can't give Canelo Alvarez Fighter of the Year by beating a washed-up light heavyweight who was I thought was winning the fight just by throwing a jab and clinching the entire fight before Canelo knocked him out in the 11th
Punching
round.
gloves.
Kovalev is past his prime. Kovalev is past his prime, and he needs to hang it up before he's seriously hurt. But Canelo, definitely, he's in the conversation because already several publications and websites have named him Fighter of the Year. Errol Spence, 2 very good victories over Mikey Garcia and Sean Porter. Definitely in the conversation. Those are my runner-up. But the Fighter of the Year, this has been his program, NAOYA Monster Inoue. No Japanese fighter has ever won Fighter of the Year until now. And he'll probably win this award 2 or 3 more times before it's all said and done. Because the man is only 26 years old. He's hit his fucking prime. Oh, my God. And he just signed a huge deal with Bob Arum in Top Rank. So it's all the shine is just going to get brighter for the monster from Japan, NAOYA Inoue.
Yeah. I mean, people have actually talked about him moving up to fight Lomachenko, which...
That's a joke. That's a joke. That's a joke.
Yeah.
No. Let's not do that. But anyway, Lomachenko is
I think Arum even said that.
Yeah, because Arum figured, all right, I signed Inoue. Now, let me see if I can goad him into a fight with Lomachenko.
Anyway, but NAOYA Inoue, I mean, yeah, we've talked about him enough, I guess.
If you go to the archives, I believe we've covered his last 3 or 4 fights. He's just a beast. I love this guy. Look at his style. I mean, my favorite fighter of all time outside of Muhammad Ali is Thomas Hitman Hearns. That left jab, that right cross. I mean, he's like a better version because he's got a better chin than Hearns and he's got better stamina than Hearns. 2 of the things that really killed Hearns.
Right on, man. So this is the winner. You think it's going to be Canelo for most other sites?
I know. Last night I was watching Max Kellerman's year review, and he gave Canelo his. And by the way, I love Max Kellerman. Shout out to Max Kellerman. Max Kellerman has taken the same stance that we've taken. He was talking about belts. He said, "Man, I don't recognize these alphabet titles. Everybody's got one." No, I'm not. It's the best versus the best. It's the best fighters in the world. Forget their affiliation. Who got a title? Everybody got a title. So
yeah,
shout out
true.
to Max Kellerman.
Everybody.
But his pick was Canelo Alvarez, and you know what? I understand the logic behind it. He beat Danny Jacobs. He beat Sergey Kovalev. But Kovalev is washed up, and Jacobs is a good win. Definitely a good win.
If it's based on money, he's definitely the top, right?
If it's based on money, it's him and Joshua.
Yeah. But he's even bigger than Joshua.
Yeah, but I don't think Canelo's ever made $60 million for one fight. I mean, he's got the biggest.
The Saudi Arabian deal.
Yeah, the Saudi Arabia blood deal. Yeah.
Yeah, I wonder if he would fight there, because I'm sure they would want him to.
He doesn't need to.
Yeah,
Need to.
Give him $100 million.
And I don't think, and Oscar De La Hoya is his promoter, and Oscar tries to do everything right, Mr. Political Correctness, Mr. I'm trying to be squeaky clean, even though I sniff coke and bag 3 or 4 whores at the same time. But I don't think he would want the backlash for going to Saudi Arabia. Eddie Hearn didn't give a fuck. Eddie Hearn is whoever got the biggest paycheck. He was our pussy of the year last year, by the way, Eddie Hearn. For turning down a $50 million deal to fight Deontay Wilder, he turned that down. There was a few reasons why we picked him as last year.
But he got his. He got his when Ruiz knocked out his man.
Yeah, he almost lost his meal ticket. I'm sure he didn't sleep for 3 weeks straight after that fight.
Yeah, he was fucking, oh my God. All right, well, we'll see. I want to see, I just want to put in a bid for Julio Cesar Chavez versus Logan Paul. I think they could do that on DAZN, and it's a spectacle.
I would be surprised. It would do a lot of business. It would sell out the Staples Center again because you got a lot of casual fans out there that think they know boxing and think that oh wow, let's go see this.
And he might even, and he could even get a win. We're talking about Salad Jr. could even win this, you know. So
it'll probably be a 50-50 fight.
He can do that Ric Flair hair dye shit again, and
my God,
go for
this clown.
with the blue
like
streak.
I said before, there has never been a boxer that became a legendary fighter that grew up with silk sheets and in a mansion. It don't happen.
Yeah. Has there ever been a fighter that's bleached his hair blonde and done well? I can't remember one.
I think, if I'm not mistaken, De La Hoya always kept his hair black. There's a fighter out there that I'm thinking bleached his hair black. Quarte, great African welterweight from Ghana, late 90s, bleached his hair blonde one time, and he looked ridiculous with that dark brown skin complexion of his with bleached blonde hair. I think, what the fuck was that about?
At least he didn't paint it blue. He could put a blue streak in.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ. That was just like, hey, I'm going to go out looking ridiculous. All right.
So next week will be another award show as we go into the awards for the 2010s, the decade that will be ending Tuesday night. We will be doing the year. We'll have the Pussy of the Decade, the Fighter of the Decade, the Fight of the Decade, the Network of the Decade, all the same awards, Upset of the Decade. We're having all those next week as we go review the decade that was. A decade that I mentioned last week on this program started with boxing at an all-time low. Popularity in the trash can. You had a major fight between Bernard Hopkins and Roy Jones Jr. that did 50,000 pay-per-view buys. Boxing was basically toilet paper. Was the toilet paper, the toilet bowl of sports. And now 2019 is the king of combat sports. Huge deals across 4 networks for boxing promotions. So it began on the lowest level I've ever seen it, and now it's back. It's at the highest peak it's been in since the 1980s.
Absolutely. So we're going to end it here, and then we're going to come back next week, and we're going to talk about the decade that was this past decade in boxing and give our awards out. So One Silva, we'll talk next week then, and have a great rest. I mean, this is kind of like a holiday fucking 2 weeks here. So everybody have a happy new year, and thanks for supporting us, and Merry Christmas and everything like that. So I don't know if you'll give any shout outs, One Silva. If not, we can sign off.
Let me give a couple of shout outs. I want to shout out to my man Garrett, our mutual friend Garrett Gonzalez.
Great guy.
Nice guy, sweetheart of a guy, real nice guy, very, very, very politically alert. I mean, he's very intelligent young man. He has a website that I'm a contributor to, Fight Game Media, and he'll be publishing tomorrow or Tuesday. I think Tuesday at the latest. It might be out tomorrow. I'm on a panel, 5 or 6 man panel that lists their Fighter of the Year, Breakout Fighter of the Year, Fight of the Year, and who we believe will be the next fighter to explode. And I have a series of articles on his website, and I just wrote my 3rd article. He's going to start of a new series, the greatest super lightweights of all time, 140-pound fighters of all time. He'll be publishing my number 5 and number 4 next week. I sent him my number 3 this week. So be on the lookout for that. Shout out to my man, real good dude. Want to shout out to my man Mark Wren out overseas in England, one of the nicest guys I've ever met. So shout out to him, and shout out to all the listeners that have stayed loyal, that hit us up on Twitter, talk about, man, when you going to do another greatest performances? Well, right around the corner, it's coming. After next week, we'll be going back to regularly scheduled greatest performances in boxing history.
Right on, right on. Want to sign off here, One Silva. Thanks again, man, and thanks everybody for listening. Peace.
Peace, brother.